You're
It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents, not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. Brand new show this week. All kind of stuff going on in the real estate market. Was actually out of town last week, so back in the studio. I apologize about that. A rerun. Was actually out of town. Took one of our top agents on their award trip last week. Had an amazing time in the Florida Keys, and so back hustling all week, and lots of great stuff for you today. And so interesting. I'll tell you some crazy stuff happened. Right, another wild week in real estate in terms of we'll talk interest rates. Bank of America came out this week predicting 3 more rate hikes for the Federal Reserve. And so that's not good for mortgage rates for sure. We'll talk about what that means. So it really talks about if you're thinking about buying or selling, that's going to really speed up your time frame to do so as rates are predicted to climb. We'll dig into that in a big way today and talk about when are they going to hike them, what do they look like. We thankfully have some amazing software from Wall Street that we use. It allows us to predict what's going to happen. Lots of smart people kind of go in part of that and help really kind of measure and predict what's happening with rates going forward. So we'll talk about that ideally. Also, some shocking data out nationally from National Association of Realtors on how many homes realtors actually sell per year based on their tenure in the business. It's shocking. A lot of times people have no clue in terms of like how many actually selling. It goes from years 1 to 2, years 3 to 5, years 6 to 15, I think. And it's really shocking in terms of how little amount of homes that most agents are selling on average if they are selling homes, which is crazy. We'll break that down. And also some other stuff I've seen a lot kind of online, even here locally. Someone I know who's a big business person here locally shared this. They're big into development and site work and things, but new study shows that government regulations are costing $132,000 per house. Absolutely insane. So every house that you're buying that's brand new on average, the government regulation and hoops they have to jump through and the fees and impact fees are right at $132,000 per house right now for new construction, which is absolutely insane. It's something that should make a lot of people really upset. We'll talk about kind of what that means, how that's costing a lot more. And also we'll dig into the brand new market numbers, what's happening with those, and do the same thing we've done every single week for the last 15 plus years in the stations, help give you everything you can information-wise to help you make better decisions for your real estate. For most people, that's their largest asset. And so if you want to come back and watch these, we stream online. You can just search on YouTube, type in Blake Sloan Radio Show. You can follow me. You're streaming on Facebook at Blake Sloan and also Sloan Realty Group. Make sure to stay tuned. Lots of great stuff today.
For any new listeners, just to give you an update on just who Blake is, it's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment, but all of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly and a quick overview of how they work, Blake.
Yes, Rick, and that's the only reason I do the show still is the same exact reasons I mentioned every week because it's by far the biggest problem I see in the industry, biggest problem I deal with as an agent, as an expert, as a business owner. And it's the biggest thing that costs homeowners their hard-earned equity over and over and over. The mistake they make is thinking that all the real estate agents are the same, right? They all just look at agents as a commodity, which could not be any further from the truth, right? Look at them like corn, like commodity. What's commodity? Commodity's corn, rice, wheat, things that everything's the same. It's a flat price. They just base everything on what's the cheapest, right? Based on, a certain range of quality. And so the reality is that could not be any further from truth for people in terms of the service-based business, because the execution of the human that you hire is what determines your success or failure as a home seller, also a home buyer. And so just like any doctor, any lawyer, I bring this up all the time, there's so many nuances, things to navigate in a high ticket, right? High stakes process that has a very long sales cycle. There's a lot of things that go wrong. And so they do go wrong often. It costs a lot of money. Massive amounts of deals fall through. I was just on a call this week with my coach who's a national coach, coaches a lot of top teams in the country. And he said they're seeing across the country right now 20+% of deals falling through after going under contract across the board. And that just has multiple reasons. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Home inspection being one of the largest ones of those. But a lot of buyers getting cold feet. A lot of lenders aren't getting verified with pre-approval letters, with proof of funds, a lot of different crazy stuff going on that can cost homeowners a lot of money. But more importantly, what most people don't understand the business model and how things work. And when I mean the single most important variable in terms of your success or failure as a home seller, it really comes down to one thing only, and that's the agent that you choose, period. And the reason is it comes down to how well does that human actually execute. And there's a major flaw, major problem with our industry where they still operate just like they did in the 1970s, 1980s, where they have one single agent who juggles all the balls. So for example, you hire an agent. That agent basically does all the buyers that come in. Well, that takes a lot of time, right? Buyers won't buy the first house to look at. Usually 12, 15 houses before they buy something. That means you can't just survive off of one buyer. So you need a bunch of buyers to survive in the business. Well, that takes 30, 40 hours a week itself, just riding buyers around. Also, guess what? They're taking your house as a listing. There's 118 variables just on your listing. And that's anything from pricing strategy, right? Doing the CMA market analysis, taking photos, order the photos, marketing, answering phone calls, right? Scheduling showings, getting showing feedback, all these things that one person has to do, which is simply impossible. In addition to contract to close issues, once he goes under contract, any marketing, if they do any, which most of them don't, right? And administrative issues they have. So there's so many things that have to happen. And so it's basically having one single person in McDonald's do the front register, the drive-thru, and french fries at the same time, and then wondering why the food doesn't taste good or why it's cold. It's the same process in real estate, but people don't understand that. So they just go the old school way of picking business. And so what I did, and I got in the business, there's got to be a better way, right? It's just like a doctor, it's like a lawyer. There's high stakes here. People spend 20, 30 years building their hard-earned equity, but 15 minutes pick an agent. And the one thing I've noticed in doing this a long time, 20 plus years now, is that they don't really know how to pick an agent. I've never really gotten deep, like introspective questions, even with AI now, right? Most people just, how much do you charge? And that's about it, right? Nothing like, what do you do differently to differentiate my house? What's your marketing look like? What's your marketing budget look like? How's it compare to other agents? How are you going to actually differentiate my house to get me more money? Those are things that people don't really ask. They just say, ask well, how much you charge, which is the wrong question, right? So if I get charged with a crime I didn't commit, the last thing I want is the cheapest attorney, right? The last thing I want is a part-time attorney. The last thing I want is an attorney who's only tried a few cases. I want the most, amazing, aggressive attorney who specializes in that type of law, who has experience in the courtroom as well as the litigation process if that's needed, that can give me a massive competitive advantage, because that's how you win in small trenches, right? So I want that same exact thing with my largest asset, which most people is real estate. And so they don't understand it makes a massive difference. So the single most important decision you're going to make comes down to the agent that you choose, period. And so what we found was 118 different variables for just a listing. It really is impossible for one single person to really navigate themselves. That's why 50% of the properties that get listed do not sell. And so what I did was I flipped the old school industry model upside down. We just looked at what people did outside of real estate in real businesses, outside of the real estate industry, and I modeled them like the brick and mortar traditional businesses. We created a team of specialists where each person specializes in what they do, so I can create maximum leverage for my client at every single point. I have someone who specializes and executes at a very high level in the beginning, right? That could be anything from the inside sales piece of answering telephones. We talk about my documentary at blakesloan.com that we made. There's a company they call 3,000 real estate offices across the country. Less than 50% of the time an agent answered or called back, which is crazy, right? And so that means people are trying to buy your house. They're calling your agent doesn't answer, doesn't call them back. They're submitting online, they don't get a call back. And so those people trying to buy it, and it's not that the agent is just terrible or the agent's, nefarious. They just don't have time to do it. They're out on the next listing appointment trying to get the next listing. And so they're trying to survive in the business. So it's a very broken model. And so what I did was I designed this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System. The only proven system sells twice as fast and for 20% more money than traditional methods. And we show step by step how we do that, right? To give you the seller the massive competitive advantage. And so we do that. We back it up with two main things: a massive, large team of people who's very, very good at what they do. We have an inside sales team, outside sales team, buyer specialist, listing specialist, listing coordinator, closing coordinator, full-time graphic design, full-time videographer, full-time photography. So all that stuff's in-house, so we can control the variables to create small gaps. And it's just like a marathon, right? You have 118 different variables. If I create a small gap at 0.1, small gap 0.2, small gap 0.3, over 118 different variables, it ends up being a large gap at the end. That's how we sell properties faster and for more money. To back it up with technology, we have massive amounts of technology that really help. We have multiple different types of AI that does follow-up 24 hours a day, that really nurtures, helps give data and information for clients to make better decisions. Lots of stuff that we do there, in addition to a six-figure month marketing budget, creates a massive competitive advantage to us for our clients to help property sell faster and for more money. If buyers out there, guess what? Same exact thing. There's 100 plus variables on the buy side. If each one's handled correctly, it saves you money when you buy, or you get an advantage when you're negotiating, when you're purchasing, whatever it may be. And so I designed a system there called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get you priority access to foreclosure, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation, purchase price, as well as home inspection to get you to that closing table successfully with the most amount of money in your pocket. And so that's one thing. If you want to know more about, reach out, call me, 843-808-SOLD. But in addition to that, I really did an amazing documentary that clients are loving, consumers loving. It goes back behind the curtains of the industry. It really kind of shows some of the darkness of the industry and what happens and what costs people a lot of money. And you can watch it for free right now, easily online at blakesloan.com. It's very, very easy, very, very powerful. A lot of people made a lot of comments on it, but check out, you owe it to yourself to at least investigate it. And it shows you how to pick agents, shows you what to ask, what to do, what to look for. And there's some amazing, amazing things. So make sure you check that out. I'll take a quick break right back here in a second.
Hey, Sean Hannity here with the only real estate agent in your market that I recommend, Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, thanks for joining me today. You know, a lot of people may be thinking about selling their home, but they want to make sure they're getting the most money possible. What options do you have available to make selling a home easier?
Hey, Sean, we have 3 unique innovative options for home sellers right now. First, we have a program for maximum convenience, where I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars looking to buy homes at a fair price in the Myrtle Beach Grand Strand area. Or we have a program for maximum speed, where I can match your property up with one of our 100,000 plus active home buyers looking to buy properties here on the Grand Strand. Or 3, maximum value. We have a proven system that'll sell your home twice as fast and for 5 to 15% more money than traditional methods.
All right, thanks for keeping us up to date. Call the agent that creates the most demand. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbett. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, we can agree to sell it by a certain date, pay cash for your home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bit more time?
We use our proven marketing plan to sell it for the highest price.
Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back, Blake Sloan, Real Estate Show, brand new market update, all kind of stuff happening. I'll tell you, some of these final numbers are getting in, really kind of finalizing what's happening. Like I mentioned, sometimes the data is a little bit delayed because agents don't put their sales in from the previous month until like three weeks later. But we have a new record, which is crazy. And we'll talk about that in terms of closed sales. That comes on the heels of rates going back below 6% for the first time in a very, very long time. Obviously, they've gone back up here. Most recently, we know that there's 2 types of numbers we track. The closed numbers, which I call the rear view mirror numbers. So they closed last month, but they closed last month when under contract 36 days prior to that, right? We call the front windshield numbers like, hey, what's happening in front of me right now so I can drive the car or the plane and navigate based on what the current data is. And so we'll talk about both, but we'll talk about closed data first. I mentioned it, the previous show, but check this out. We finally got the numbers like almost fully in towards the end of the month. But last month for single family resale homes, which is what most people own, we had a new number, 600 properties closed, up 12.6% from the same time last year. This is crazy. So it's a huge jump. February, we were at 362. And then March went up to 493, April, 543, May, 600. If you go back to some of our previous shows on YouTube, you'll remember me talking about, hey, this is probably one of the most pivotal summers for home sellers in almost a decade, right? Mention that. Why? Because rates are finally coming back down. There's so much pent up demand, very seasonal. There's a huge run on that, right? We've had a couple huge months, the last couple months. And so that was on the heels of a very, very slow January, February. And so massive come in, all of a sudden rates started to go up. The war happened, which has been very, very resistant, right, to the market because rates have gone back up. And so that's great numbers, though. But the last time we had 600 single family homes close in 1 month was June 2022. So that's amazing kind of to look at, whether we're talking 4 years ago, the last time we had that many sales in 1 month. And so that's for home sellers out there. Obviously, price is a lagging indicator, so you're probably going to see that hopefully come up a little bit. But price last month only up 0.8% from the same month last year. So it's pretty much flat still. But you see a huge run like that, you definitely will see prices go up because it does eat some of the inventory. Buyers tend to pay more because there's less options. And so that's why price is typically a lagging indicator. Right now, the median price for resale homes here in the Grand Strand, $388,000, up 0.8% for average sale price, actually down 3.2% year versus year. So interesting there. Right now, average sale price 49,766, and so that's down from the peak which we saw back in December at 555,946. So really talking a $60,000 drop from the peak. And so it's been bouncing around a lot, right? We saw that was high interest rates, a lot of resistance. December, January, February was very, very slow. And so that's because rates got high. Now they went back down. Everybody was super excited. It was like they cut the faucet on. Lots of buyers are coming in. And then post-war, inflation continues to get much higher. Rates continue to go up. And so that's something we'll see going forward. But I do think, just my prediction and me watching the data all day, every day we'll talk about how this future Federal Reserve rate increase is really going to put more headwinds, more challenges, and be a lot more costly for both buyers and sellers, because as rates go up, buyers can't afford as much, right? They're going to pull back and not enter the marketplace, which means less buyers for you as a home seller. So if you're thinking about selling, I'll break this down in a few minutes. You want to really get going in the next few, let's say, few weeks, and that worst case, the next month or so, because you wait this year to Q4, it's going to be very, very difficult, at least based on what we're seeing from a data standpoint right now. Looking at more data, days on market, average days on market right now is up 6% from last year. So it's taking 106 days on average for the properties that do sell. The good news is down from February. February was 123 days on market. Looking at supply right now, we're at 5.1 months of inventory. It's down from 5.2, which is good. Because that means there's just a little bit, it's still a seller's market, which is great news. If you look at last June, there's 5.5 months. So we're a better place than we were last June. Right now for showings per listing, which is how many showings does the average listing get? Right now they get 3.5, which is down 2.8% from the same time last year. So the average listing, let's say this 6 months, right? They're getting 3.5 showings total. The problem is they need 11.9 to get a contract. And so that's where the disconnect comes, right? Where a lot of properties just sitting there, what we call the stagnant mass. They're just sitting there, no showings, no information. There's two main reasons. Number one, marketing, or number two, pricing. And so it's simply a combination of both with that. What most agents do is they get a listing, get some photos, pop it MLS, and sit back and pray that someone else brings a buyer, because they don't have marketing budget, not spending anything, not making, they can't make that many phone calls in terms of what they do. And so that's just something that you got to really understand of how do you move the needle? You have to have someone who can do that. We do that with two main things: massive marketing spend, lots and lots of buyers. Like I said, our team makes 14,000 phone calls per week. Our minimum standard per agent is 100 dials a day minimum. Many agents make 200 dials a day, and that's not including our inside sales team. And so most agents don't make 100 calls a week, right? So that's the thing you have to understand. How do I move that, talk to more people, have more conversations, and be able to share buyer and seller with new listings? That makes a big, big difference. And so that's something we keep watching. Condo market overall, closed sales for condos, huge month for condos in terms of actual sales, up 19%, which is great news, with 461 condos last month. The last time we hit that number was back in September 2023. So it's pretty good there, right? Come back there. Days on market right now for condos, 121 days for the ones that do actually sell. We're still seeing less than 50%, about 40% of condos are actually selling. A lot of them are sitting there, they're getting renewed and or expiring at the end of their 6-month term. If you look at average sale price right now, down 6.8% for condos, 267, 793. Like I mentioned, if you see how our sales up 12%, but price is down 6%, again, it's because price is usually a lag indicator that comes on 1 to 2, 3 months later. So looking at median sales price, actually down as well for condos at 223,500. That's down 6.9%. The good news, it's up from where it was in February. February is only 200,000. Right now we're at 223. And so same challenge that you're seeing there for average agents, average people. Average listing on the MLS. What I mean there is that the average listing on the MLS gets 1.9 showings total the entire time it's listed. They need 9.6 showings to actually get a contract. So you need almost 5 times the amount of showings that the average listing gets to get a contract. And so that also depends on, obviously, your curb appeal, how it looks, building competition, things like that. We are seeing a lot of headwinds still in the condo market. You got to make sure you differentiate, got to be able to make sure it can be pushed and really see what makes a difference there. And that's something where every single detail matters. And so if you want to know more how your property stacks up, the good news is we have this amazing tool. I spent about $3,500 a month on it. It's a free tool for any of our clients to use, past clients, listeners to use. Basically gives you your own stock portfolio and stock, tracker or ticker, we'll call it, for any property owned anywhere in the country. It's amazing. You put it there, it has your own dashboard, it tells you real-time home equity, real-time loan balance based on the calculations. It tells you real-time comps around you. And so I can't control it. It shows you the three main data sources that all the large hedge funds and appraisers use in terms of valuation. I don't control those numbers. I have no impact on the back end of it. And also it shows you real-time Zillow, so you can compare the two and how they all stack up. And so just let you know real time, here's what's happening. Here's how I make better decisions. Here's what my neighbors are selling for. It's very, very powerful. And you can put all your properties in there. It's your own dashboard. It'll keep you updated however much you want. You can check that out right now at blakesloan.com. One thing I didn't talk about yet, though, was the front windshield numbers. Market, how's it comparing in terms of new properties under contract? Doing pretty decent. Right now, the last 7 days, been 540 properties under contract for $240,000. So anytime over 200 million, things are rocking. Obviously, we're in the summertime. We're a seasonal marketplace. I'd like to see it higher, but we're still holding pretty strong, even in the face of higher interest rates. Last show was 536. This show, 540. So holding strong there. Lots of big money, though. Still just fascinates me. I was like shaking my head as I was prepping this morning. Growing up here, being in the real estate business for 20 years, and also my whole life, my parents, grandparents, aunt, uncles, everyone in it. It's just wild to see the prices that we're getting here. One property at $3 million under contract last 7 days on the water in Sunset Beach, basically on the intercoastal. 6 properties over $2 million under contract last 7 days. 28 properties over $1 million under contract the last 7 days. 106 properties over $500,000 in the last 7 days. And inventory is still holding pretty good. Right now, it's 1,882 single-family homes on the market in Horry County. So lots to choose from. It's still not super saturated, right? And so it's pretty balanced right now based on what we're seeing. And so that's great news for home buyers, great news for home sellers, where it's pretty balanced. It's not crazy one way or the other. But one thing I think we'll talk about a little bit is, hey, what's interest rates doing? Thankfully, last week or so, it's gone down a little bit, which is great news. But I'll tell you, there's some interesting stuff that we're talking about, going to see going forward. Right now, last week's show, interest rates for a 30-year fixed, 6.6%, right? Right now, a 30-year fixed, 6.53%, 15-year fixed, 6.12%, a 30-year jumbo loan, 6.77%, a 30-year FHA loan, 6.10%, and a 30-year VA, 6.12%. Right now, we're in a very, very, very interest rate driven marketplace right now. One of the big things that we've been kind of talking about looking, and so the last recent article came out that just talks about, hey, look, how did Bank of America just came out this week and said expect 3 major price interest rate hikes this year. That's kind of what we're seeing, that which it doesn't directly affect mortgage rates, but indirectly it does affects the bond market. But here's the title: Bank of America expects 3 Fed hikes this year, says inflation is getting unambiguously worse, which I think we can all kind of feel that. And if you go to this thing we look at, it's called the CME Group. They have a market rate Fed watch tool. The next Fed meeting is in 33 days. But right now, if you look at that, there's 29% chance they hike it on the July 29th meeting they have. It gets much, much more, though. Right now, for the September 16th meeting, there's a 60% chance they're going to raise rates. And obviously, there's a balance there of how many basis points it may be. The October 28th meeting right now, there's a 70% chance they're going to raise rates. And then in December, there's a 77% chance you're going to raise rates. And so that means, okay, what does that mean? All right, if I'm thinking about buying, I know based on, and this is obviously, I was talking with some of our clients, hey, are you familiar with what the Fed watch tool is? Maybe not really. Okay. Some of the smartest people on Wall Street get together, they track, manage, and predict what's going to happen with interest rates going forward. Why is that? Because they trade hundreds of millions of dollars based on what happens on this stuff, right? So it's very important for them to know and track what's going on. We use this, but also what this does, it affects mortgage interest rates indirectly to the bond market. And so I know anytime Federal Reserve raise rates, a lot of times the bond market builds that in right up to that. And so you'll see rates indirectly rise at the same time. If I know there's going to be 3 potential hikes going forward this year, what do you think that's going to do to interest rates for home buyers? Obviously, it's going to go up, which means you have less affordability. Less buyers will buy because it costs them more to buy, right? We're in a very interest rate driven marketplace right now. And so with that said, that means if I'm going to buy, I want to do it sooner rather than later, because if you wait, it's going to cost you more money to do so, right? Now, if I'm a home seller, the last thing I want to do is wait, because if I wait till there's 3 interest rate hikes, guess what? A lot of buyers will be priced out of the market. There'll be less buyers to buy your property, which means you're going to sell it for less. And or if you don't sell it for less, you're going to basically have to go back and just take much longer for it to sell. And so that's something to watch out for, to think about. And so we advise our clients, hey, look, if I'm doing something this year in 2026, you got to do it sooner rather than later. Do not wait to Q4. Talk about seasonality in addition to a very, very, significantly higher interest rate potential. I want to make sure I'm taking action sooner rather than later. So if you're rental property you've been holding on to, thinking about selling, if you have anything else, that you've been thinking about relocating, doing something else, do it sooner rather than later. I mentioned before, this is the most important summer market, I think, in a decade. based on what we've seen so far. And if we see rates continue to rise, you do not want to miss that window. Number two reason: number one, seasonality in Myrtle Beach. But number two, if you see rates go up 3 separate hikes, it's going to be very painful for buyers and also painful for sellers, because it means less people will help you buy. So if you want to go online right now and check your real-time value, you get cash offer, instant valuation, whatever it is, go to blakesloan.com. In addition to that, if you want to just chat about it, have somebody give you some true unbiased advice from the marketplace. We're working all weekend. We're hustling. Give me a call right now, 843-808-SOLD, and share this information with your friends, relatives. Share the episode with them. We stream on YouTube. Tell them, say, look, call my buddy Blake Sloan. Save me your phone. 843-808-SOLD or blakesloan.com. We'll take a quick break right back in a second.
Hey, WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and marketing to get the highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. If you need to sell a home and buy a new one, ask Blake about his...
Almost out of time.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell
Almost out of
the
time.
price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
All right.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's shows Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaVox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts. When I'm Moving On won the award for ACM Song of the Year, it struck a chord with folks who understand the challenges that come with life's big change. For many, that happens when it comes time to sell their home. If you're moving on, you want a real estate agent who will make selling your home easy and stress-free. An agent who's willing to let you out of the contract if you're not happy with their service. That's why in Myrtle Beach, I can tell you that Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group markets your home on a whole different level. Now listen, Blake is so confident in his ability to sell your home quickly and for more money that he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. If you're moving on, trust Blake to provide your family a stress-free home sale experience. Find Blake Sloan online at blakesloan.com, or you can call him at 843-808-SOLD. Start packing.
Welcome back, Blake Sloan, Real Estate Show. Hot buyers, look, my team and I are working a ridiculous amount of home buyers looking at properties here in the Myrtle Beach Grand Trenton area, anywhere from $250,000 to $6.6 million. If you're thinking about selling, give us a call immediately, 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. One thing we've been doing here for a long time, putting our money where our mouth is. Like I mentioned, we spend 6 figures a month marketing, generating buyers from all across the globe. And we have what we call buyers in waiting. So the reality is you can call, hey, your cousin who sold 2 houses last year, has 0 marketing budget, makes, 10, 15 calls a week, maybe, plays golf a couple days, or the people who spend 6 figures generate thousands and thousands of leads. Right now, our active home buyers, we're at 83,819 active home buyers. 83,819 active home buyers. Have Howard from Lexington, Kentucky, Natalia, Hamden, Connecticut. I got Scott from Brooklyn, New York, John from Augusta, Georgia, Taylor from Conway, South Carolina, Bowling Green, Bayville, New Jersey, Hickory, North Carolina, San Francisco, California, Saraville, New Jersey. So all over the place, we have buyers, and we have what we call buyers in waiting, match up with our team. We have a software that match up buyers and sellers with AI. And then we have a sales team that makes 14,000 phone calls a week. We're hustling. So we're able to move that needle, sell properties faster for more money. If you want to know more about that, reach out, call me, 843-808. So really quick, awesome success stories. Just awesome. Mark and Melissa want to move to Asheville to be close to their son, who just moved there from Michigan. They already put a house under contract there before listing there. So they wanted to choose the absolute best agent. And they've interviewed multiple agents before us, 2 major big box stores, Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams. They were absolutely blown away by our system professionalism. We came in, launched a gold marketing blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic, had under contract with a cash offer within the first weekend. They were absolutely blown away. They absolutely love us. And guess what? We are able to get the closing date negotiated 14 days ahead of the one that's closing July 10th in Asheville. So last one, too, John and Stephanie had their house in common with another realtor for over 6 months, only a few showings, no offers. They're very frustrated. They want to move closer to family for new grandchildren. Thankfully, they're referred to us by Amazing Radio Listener. They called us, absolutely blown away by our system. We identified the problem marketing, designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, drove massive traffic, Had it under contract, 7 showings in the first 7 days, and had it under contract. So if you want to be next success story, give us a call, 843-808-SOLD. See you back here next week.